Good morning. Welcome to another Mount Gilead Online Devotional. My name is Kent Phillips. I am the Connections and Online and Groups Minister here at Mount Gilead. It is a privilege to be with you all today, whether you end up watching this live or you watch it later at another time. It really is a gift to be able to gather together here online and dive into God's Word. We have so much in this country where we live to be grateful for, and our ability to gather and study God's Word is one of those things we should always be grateful for and not lose sight. Whether it's online like this or in person at the church or in homes, we are so blessed to be able to freely assemble and dive into God's Word. So today, what I want to do is study God's Word. It's what we're talking about. It's what we do when we gather here. But my son just started school this last week, and part of one of his first assignments was to think about a time in history, if he could go back and travel, that he would love to be. And he was a bit overwhelmed by it because history is grand, and there are so many wonderful moments and times if you could go back to any place. And so he was really struggling trying to think of where to go back and what to write about for this assignment last week. I would be just as overwhelmed if I was faced with really choosing what that would be. But one moment in history, I think, that I would love to be present for was when Jesus gave his Sermon on the Mount that is recorded in Matthew 5. The Sermon on the Mount is often viewed by both followers of Jesus and those who don't follow Jesus as one of the most beautiful pieces of literature on moral ethics or on how to live. It is just filled with challenging and hard and beautiful descriptions of what life should look like. And today what I want to do is I just want to focus on a small section in that, Matthew 5, verses 21 through 22. And in this particular section, Jesus is looking at anger and how, as children of God and members of his kingdom, we should allow anger control or impact our lives. And this is what he says. Jesus had a way of, whatever the common understanding of something was, taking it a step further. Whatever people thought was the base level for what a good moral life was, Jesus pushed it a step further and reminded his followers then and us now that when we claim to be children of God and when we claim to be followers of Jesus, the world is watching, and we have a greater responsibility with how we live and interact with those around us. And so this is what he says in regards to anger in chapter 5, verses 21 through 22. This is what he said. He said, "You have heard that it was said to those of old, 'You shall not murder, and whoever murders will be liable to judgment.' But I say to you that everyone who is angry with his brother will be liable to judgment. Whoever insults his brother will be liable to the council. And whoever says, 'You fool,' will be liable to the hell of fire." What strong words. So Jesus is sitting there and says, you all understand that it has been said and understand forever that you shall not murder. Don't get so angry that you murder somebody. I think we can all agree that's good counsel and that's good advice. And I hope most of us who tune in and watch this today can say we have done well with that. We have never gotten so angry that we murder somebody. But Jesus doesn't stop there. He said, everybody who is angry with his brother will be liable to judgment. So that means when we hold on to anger for whatever it is, when we harbor anger, when we refuse to forgive and let go, we become responsible for that, and we become liable for judgment for our inability to let go when we hold on towards anger towards somebody. And he even goes on to say, whoever insults his brother will be liable to judgment. Anybody who calls his brother a fool. And now this is what really really got me as I was reading this earlier is, I don't know about you, but lately, over the last year, I have sat in so many conversations where people are just tearing in to other people, whether it's a politician, whether it's somebody who holds another view than they do, but more often than not, I hear people calling people idiots and fools, and can't believe they would think that way, or just getting angry about things that are going on. And when I read this, when I hear Jesus' words, it makes me pause, and it makes me think, wow, Jesus says that anyone who is angry with his brother is liable to judgment, and whoever insults his brother will be liable. And it makes me think, we have such a higher calling than to just get swept away in the sea of crowd and frustration and bitterness and anger. And we are supposed to be people of peace who, though we're not called to agree with everyone, and we're called to a higher moral standing and understanding, we're also called not to tear people down, not to hold grudges, not to be angry. If all of our effort is spent on tearing into people who think differently than us or believe differently than us, then we are falling right into the trap that Jesus talks here. And it even says we'll be held accountable for that. So my prayer for me as I read and interact with this, and my prayer for you all as you hear this today, is that we can become people who are not quick to anger and who are not quick to pass judgment and to speak out of frustration for people, even if we don't agree with what they're doing. We can not agree with public officials or with people in our lives, but we don't have to tear them down, and we don't have to insult them, and we don't have to speak harshly and with anger towards them. So I hope that you all have a wonderful day. I hope that God's word speaks to your heart and convicts you like it does mine. I hope that we can be the type of people that when people look back on their day and they think about all the pockets of conversations, that at least they'll say, there's something different when I interact with this person. He is not tearing people down. He's not bitter about everything. Let's be people of hope and kindness and graciousness, and above all, that share the love of Christ with those in our lives. God bless. Have a wonderful day.